when we are trying to understand agrarian crisis or agrarian unrest, we do not realize how much of the background is relevant, how much of the background we should know in order to understand the present farmers' movements. What is the nature of the agrarian crisis? Why is this happening? Please understand that whenever there is a protest, there is a movement, it indicates that social change is underway. It does not mean that social change has taken place, but it is a work in progress. Why should people opt for social change? Perhaps because they are not satisfied with the status quo. What is status quo? Status quo here refers to arrangement of the social structure. Earlier, agrarian economy consisted of a hierarchy, certain classes. The topmost position was occupied by the landowners and the lowermost position was taken by the laborers, or we can call them landless laborers. Majorly, the conflict was between these two sections of people. But there was no scope for these people, the laborers, the lower castes, or the lower classes of the agrarian economy to rise, because there was no opportunity, there was no unrest, or perhaps there was a dissatisfaction, discontent was there, but it could not rise or it could not grow into a full blown movement. But then what happened? Independence happened. We had land reforms. There was a limit to, or land ceiling, limit to land holdings that a person could hold. This gradually led to a degradation of the power of the landowners, because now zamindari was abolished. All the status, the power that came with land holdings, it decreased. And along with this, we now had democracy. We now had adult franchise, because of which the lower castes, especially the scheduled castes, the backward caste, they started rising up. They underwent social mobility as well as political mobility. Now, they were in such a position where they had good education, good income. They were not attracted to dominant caste. They did not want to be like the dominant caste. Instead, they started speaking up for their own castes. So, even though the caste system was set to decline because of democracy, yet a new type of caste identity was seen to arise. This was because the backward caste, the scheduled caste, they had started asserting their rights. They were now speaking for themselves, for political space, for a space in legislature, executive, and thus started an unrest. These people were farmers. Their ancestors were farmers, but they were belonging to the lower castes, the backward castes and the scheduled castes. It was their turn to speak up, to raise their voices and start farmers' movements. In the north, in many states, especially in Punjab, UP, it was seen that the lower caste farmers were not impressed by the higher caste farmers, and they introduced their own deity. They worshipped a different deity. They built their own Gurudwara. Thus, it can be seen that the lower caste farmers, they started being proud of their own caste, and they started promoting their own caste. Thus, we can say that initially there was a hierarchy which was well accepted by everyone, especially the lower castes, but with independence, with a limit on the land holdings, with abolition of zamindari system, the landowners, they reduced, or their position reduced and degraded, because of which, and along with democratic facilities, democratic rights, the lower castes, they started rising up. So, there was interchange of power, there was a shuffle in the hierarchy, and now the new entrants to power, they started claiming their lost prestige, because they always believed that they were lower castes, or they were treated as lower castes by those who were earlier superior to them, example the landowners, but in reality they were not inferior. They did not consider themselves as inferior, they considered their caste as equally important and significant. This is the logic behind the agrarian crisis, the agrarian unrest, which is currently happening in India, and the farmers' movements that we are seeing is being led by mainly the farmers of Punjab, UP, northern states, and these farmers who want their lost rights to be given to them. This is why the agrarian crisis is happening, and there are many demands of these farmers related to MSP, related to India's exit from WTO. All these are related to economy. These details may not be much relevant in sociology, but in sociology what is relevant is the caste angle, how the changes have happened, or social change has happened in the hierarchy of caste, how things have changed, how some people have come down, how some people have risen. This is the play of castes in sociology. This is what we should know. We will try to incorporate new learnings. This learning has been explored by sociologist Dipankar Gupta in a previous 2005 EPW article. If you are interested, you can go through it. Thank you so much.